You are listening to the Well Connected Twin Cities podcast. I'm your host, Cynthia Shockley, and I'm here to learn alongside you through meaningful conversations with health and wellness practitioners. This is your time to experience some mindset shifts, learn practical tips, and get excited about what is possible. We want you to own the power of choice in your personal well-being journey. Let's discover what's possible right here in our Twin Cities community. Hello and welcome to the Well Connected Twin Cities podcast. I'm your host, Cynthia Shockley, and today I'm speaking with Emma Vasseur. In today's conversation, we discuss the work it takes to connect with your intuition and your authentic voice so that you can consciously engage with what the world is offering you and really integrate that into the work you're doing in your world and in your community. Emma shares a bit about her personal journey and how it informs the incredible work she does with her clients. Emma Vasseur is a nationally board certified health and wellness coach, a biodynamic craniosacral practitioner, and an evolutionary astrologer with over a decade of experience in the healing arts. She holds a master's degree in integrative health and wellbeing coaching from the University of Minnesota. Emma has coached countless individuals and facilitated numerous groups and workshops in healthcare, corporate, small business, and academic settings with a focus on whole person health and healing. She is passionate about supporting folks free themselves from the confines of conditioning so they can exchange fear and worry with authentic and confident living. Emma's unique blend of lived educational and professional experiences creates a dynamic space for exploration for her clients so they can tap into their inner wisdom, befriend their bodies and emotions, initiate meaningful change, and create lasting transformation. She integrates somatic awareness practices and astrology in her coaching practice to enhance self-discovery, awareness, compassion, and acceptance. Emma believes that one of the keys to collective change and liberation is personal healing and integration of the whole self into community. Emma offers services both locally in Tucson, Arizona, traditional homelands of the Tohono O'odham people, and nationally via the wonder of the internet. And here we are with Emma Vasseur. Hi, Emma. How are you today?
Hi, Cynthia. I'm doing really well. Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing all right considering the dreary weather that we're having in Minnesota. And I'm looking at your screen and I'm trying to like soak in the vitamin D through the screen right now because I know you're in Arizona and it's beautiful.
Yes, plenty of that vitamin D here, so I'm happy to share.
Good. Oh, I'm so excited for us to have this time together. I know there's just so much that we are going to dive into, and we just have a lot of, I feel like, parallels in our lives. So we'll get into that. But first, I like starting off with a rose and a thorn just to get to know in your own personal life what's something beautiful going on, and then also something that's maybe a bit of a pain.
Yeah, I actually have been thinking quite a bit about this, and there's a lot that's going really beautifully right now in my life. I feel like the relationships that I have, the community that I'm gradually cultivating here, and the connections I've made in the places where I get to offer my work, share my work, and just be connected with people that are really passionate about many of the same things I am. So just really feeling really grateful for the relationships that I have in my life and the amount of love and care that I'm surrounded by. And yeah, to be able to do the work that I'm doing it just feels like a really pivotal kind of culmination point of my life. So that's been very rosy and very
Mm.
life-giving and generative. Yeah, that's what I
Mhm.
would say is the rose. And the thorn is a heavy thing. We look around and see what's going on in the world. And I'm somebody that I think I can be very consumed by what's happening in the world, in particular right now, what's going on with Israel and Palestine, and somebody that was maybe a bit more conditioned to be a bit more ignorant to the things that were going on in the wider world, finding that balance of staying engaged and present and educating myself and getting really clear on Where's the balance between what can I do as this one individual person out here in Tucson, Arizona? What can I do? And am I doing that? And yeah, I think the biggest thorn right now is more of the coming to terms with and finding the balance and accepting that whatever I'm doing hopefully is enough. So it's like this, yeah, imposter syndrome of sorts when it comes to being a part of the wider collective. And as somebody that very much believes in our personal healing as part of the collective liberation, I have to really come to terms and accept that is enough. And me educating myself can be enough and a part of the bigger picture. So,
Mm.
yeah, the amount of grief and just rage and heartbreak that can come from feeling helpless and
Yeah.
totally disconnected and confused, quite frankly, about why things are the way they are. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that's heavy things right now.
Yeah. Heavy things and always thorns amongst the roses.
Mhm.
And I feel like I can really resonate with both, right? Just feeling like aligned, at least in personal, professional ways. But then when you zoom out, it's like, whoa, there is a lot going on. And it can feel a bit hopeless when your actions only do so much and have only so much impact. I actually read uh, a newsletter from Kim Lovejoy. She's one of our pro members, and it was actually really timely. I just opened it before this conversation. I give it a quick read, but she was talking about how she felt guilty at first laughing and posting memes at a time like this. And she had to remind herself that laughter is really healing, that that's a part of what she does in as a therapist, is like teaching people how to resource, how to find ways to soothe your nervous system even in chaos, even in hard times. And she talked about the concept of pendulating and touching on the really hard stuff and the heavy, but then also allowing yourself to swing back into the light and the easy so that you have capacity to keep doing the work.
Mhm.
And it was really timely. And I just wanted to share that with you because you don't have to always be in the heavy, right? Because that's not sustainable either.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something I firmly believe in also and can easily say and share with other people. And then the actual practice of it myself is,
This is
but
like the
yeah,
curse of being a coach because you know all these great things and you can encourage others. And then you're like, oh, maybe I should practice this too.
yes, yes, yes.
Uh,
Yeah, it's so real, so real.
yeah. Uh, Little known fact for our listeners, you were actually the original intended host for the Well Connected Twin Cities podcast back before it even launched, which is just so exciting. I got introduced to you and through Sonia, and she was just like, "Yeah, you guys would really get along." And I'm like, "Yeah, if you haven't heard about the Well Connected Twin Cities podcast," and you're like, "Oh, believe me, I've heard about it." So you had to move out of the Twin Cities. So you decided maybe I shouldn't host the Twin Cities podcast. I'm curious what took you to Tucson. Clearly, you enjoy the space and enjoy the work that you're doing there, but I'd love to hear about that transition.
Yes, of course, there's always a long version and a short version, right? Yeah, and actually, I wanted to say too, I'm just so glad it worked out the way that it did. And to have you hosting the podcast is the right move. I was pretty much a hot mess at the time and just really loved and love what both Alex and Lily were up to and what they were co-creating. And I was so thrilled to potentially be a part of that. And yeah, at that time in my life, it was a culmination of a lot of different things. And mostly, though, it's like my adventurous spirit combined with my spontaneity and a bit of impulsivity. But the longer version is I had done some pretty extensive traveling throughout my life, thanks to the absolute generosity of loved ones, maybe some irresponsible student loan spending. And then I did get a really incredible job that took me around the world right out of college. Travel has been the absolute greatest gift and something that has changed me forever. But it was always just like visiting. I was like in a place for a day or two, or maybe up to a week. if it was more of a vacation or something. But we all know there's such a huge difference between visiting a place and really landing there and getting to know the rhythm of the place, the land, the people. And I had craved that experience for a long time.
Mm.
And another piece of this puzzle was that my dad had passed away in 2017. And I think just the the combination of that, and then again my spontaneity and just like the perfect factors all coming into place, I had an opportunity to move away and experience what I had been wanting to experience. Was I really wanted to break out of some pretty specific patterns that I had developed throughout my lifetime. And I wanted to see who I was. I wanted to meet myself away from everyone I knew, away from familiarity. I wanted to push myself outside of my comfort zone and be in a place that, yeah, would show me, like, how do I show up when I don't know people? How do I introduce myself? How do I make new friends? And what do I choose to do with my time? So, yeah, it was a big mix of all of that. And I had a job that was fully remote, and this was before 2020. So it was a little bit more rare at that time. And so I just felt like this is the perfect time to do this. And have a dear friend, beloved, who also pretty adventurous, was just like, I've always wanted to live in Tucson. Do you want to go? I was like, yep, yep, I do. Never been there. Let's see what happens. I'm here for it.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
so that's really what got me here. And I've been coming to Arizona. My family has been living that snowbird life. Not my mom and dad, but my grandfather and then my aunts and uncles. So I've always had the opportunity to come to Arizona and be here for like spring break throughout childhood. So I knew the place, not Tucson, but yeah. So it wasn't super unfamiliar, and family's not too far away. They're about an hour and a half, 2 hours away. I knew there were people nearby if I needed them. But
Yeah.
none of that ended up mattering in 2020.
Yes.
Moved in, and then everything closed down, and then I really got what I asked for, which was just to meet myself. I wouldn't
Mm.
change any of it. It's been the most life-changing experience, and I am coming out of the last several years very clear on who I am and what I want and what I'm willing to and unwilling to, I don't know, be a part of, and all these things. So yeah, long
Hmm.
story, but there you go.
Yeah, a beautiful story. And I get so excited thinking about that spontaneity and just taking that leap of faith. There is definitely something magical that happens when you remove yourself from your usual roles, your usual community, and you really do, like you say, get to introduce yourself, and you get to find out who you introduced yourself as because you didn't have that opportunity before. Big breath in. Northeast Wellness is a community acupuncture and wellness clinic in Northeast Minneapolis, offering affordable and accessible healthcare for all. Float therapy is the practice of floating in water with a dense salt concentration in a sensory deprived environment. The water and air inside of the tank match skin temperature, while the insulated walls of the tank block all sound and light. This combination gives your body a deeply relaxing experience that encourages you to go into a peaceful, meditative state. Float therapy isn't just a unique and fun experience. It can provide a range of health benefits like stress relief, migraine relief, increased quality of sleep, pain relief, and improved physical recovery. Learn more at northeastwellnessminneapolis.com. That's NEWellnessMPLS.com. And get your first float for only $45 when you use code WELLCONNECTED. Gosh, I wonder, after all of that and that time to yourself during the pandemic and just meeting yourself, who have you discovered? And then also, what is your vision for this new you?
Deep question, Cynthia. So I would say, who am I now is really difficult to put into words, but there is a very profound felt sense of who I am. And the best way I can describe it is really having this It's like I'm tapped into this source, this well. It's like right behind my belly button. And I can only describe it as like where my own personal power lives and lies and where it actually radiates out from. There is an experience of confidence that I was not familiar with before the last several years, where I just feel really aligned with what is mine to do and what's not mine to do. The integration of that is still a challenge, and the mind games that can come, still something that I work with every day, and I think will be a lifelong journey. But yeah, I think who I am now is feeling very empowered and very aligned with the work that I'm here to do, what matters most. And that is really tending to my own personal relationships, integrating into the community, and finding what is my role in the collective healing. So I think that's my answer for kind of who I am now. And then my vision for myself is really focused on the work that I'm here to do right now. It seems to be a really big, that's all I can really focus on right now, because I just feel, again, such an alignment. It's a big word for me right now. It's just aligned and alignment. I feel called to really show up and offer the space for others to really explore their own access to their truth, to their power, to where in their body all of this lives for them, and to, again, provide a space to really quiet the noise of society, family, just everything that's trying to convince people to on the line, disalign. I can't remember the right word for that, but to just move off center. Yeah, I want to provide a space to explore that, like the inner healing process, but then also once people do reconnect and realign with themselves, how do you then reintegrate or integrate yourself into the community? Because that is where we are needed also, especially when we can feel connected with that place within ourselves of this is what's mine to do. We need to bring that out into the world and make it a reality. Yeah, I think that's my vision for my work right now, is to really just show up and offer what I have to offer and support people that are ready for it and wanting it, and just to continue to, yeah, align myself with the community where I'm needed.
Yeah, I feel like the image that kind of pops to mind is how you truly go through this transformation, this dark night of the soul, this transformation, and you come out, like you said, so much more sure of who you are, what your boundaries are, what you're here for. And instead of being like, as they say, like a round block going into a square peg or whatever that phrase is, it's no, like I actually am this completely different tool for this world that actually doesn't fit into the paradigm. So I'm here to change that up, actually.
Yes. Yes. Another vision that I do have for myself personally is to continue to prioritize rest and joy, because I have found throughout these past several years, when I was not prioritizing those things, I did not have the same amount of capacity to show up for something greater than myself. Without that rest and joy, without access to those things, I definitely had a harder time getting out of the loop of despair and overwhelm and those types of things. That's definitely a vision I have for myself, is to really start integrating more joyful experiences and accessing my own joy.
Mm. And honestly, one of my favorite quotes ever is I don't know if this is also influences you, but this quote from Brene Brown:
Mm.
"It takes courage to say yes to rest and play in a culture where exhaustion is seen as a status symbol."
Woo!
Right in the gut.
Yeah. Looking at me, Brene.
So
Yeah.
true. Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah. Thank you for bringing that quote in. That is it. I got to put that in my office. I got to write it on the walls.
And I know it's so interesting how you approach your coaching. It's something I haven't seen, this like combination of using the somatic awareness practices that you do and also the evolutionary astrology. Can you share a little more, first, a brief overview of those modalities that you do use, and then what that looks like in a coaching session?
Yeah, absolutely. The coaching piece, I'll just assume we have a understanding of that, but I will say I treat both craniosacral and astrology as very similar. The thread that weaves them all together in my mind is I'm facilitating, I'm holding a space, I am offering mirrors for people to see themselves on a deeper level, connect the dots to the bigger picture. And these are just different ways to approach that work. So, craniosacral body work is a very gentle, hands on healing modality. It supports the body's natural healing capabilities. And I view the craniosacral system as like any other system in the body. We have our respiratory system, we have our digestive system, and the craniosacral system is just another one of those systems. And the actual physicality of it is there's a lining of your brain and spinal cord called the dura mater, and then everything that's housed within that is technically the craniosacral system. The cerebral spinal fluid is within that, and it creates this wave throughout the whole body. You can feel it throughout the whole body. And as a practitioner, that's what I'm trained in and skilled in listening for, tuning into. And that gives me a lot of information about what might be happening with this person that I have the deep privilege and honor of being with in that space.
And then how about the evolutionary astrology? Can you tell us a little more about that?
Yes. First, I want to say I was in the graduate program at the University of Minnesota for their health coaching program. I think I had just finished it or something and had my first like really deep evolutionary astrology reading from someone who is now a teacher of mine. And I had never felt so seen and so validated and so encouraged to be more of myself
Mm.
than in that session. So to me, evolutionary astrology is yet another tool that really provides an opportunity for self empowerment, for just better understanding of oneself. It has helped me to cultivate deep compassion for myself and others. And it really also, oh my goodness, I don't know how I would have moved through these last several years without being able to take a look at what's happening astrologically because it's all there. And I don't even like to admit this out loud, but sometimes I'm still like, astrology, Emma, really? But every time I look at a chart, I'm like, yeah, really? Because no, you can't make this up. Like how much of a mirror it is. The evolutionary part, though, in the type of astrology that I study, emphasizes two placements in the chart, the north and south nodes of the moon, which really just speak to the karmic story that's being told and the deeper themes and undercurrents. And as a coach, the south node is super helpful because it can help point to people's the really sticky kind of habits and patterns that people have. And I can't tell you how many times in sessions, whether it's coaching sessions or just astrology readings, where you talk about the South Node and people are just like, oh my goodness, yeah, like I've been doing this my entire life. Or, yeah, there's huge lessons around that keep showing up. And so, again, it just feels very validating and affirming and can give people another resource or tool just to support their lifelong journey, their process, whatever it is they're hoping to get out of it. And another thing that I really love about evolutionary astrology in particular is its emphasis on free will and autonomy and agency. It's not predetermined. Nothing is predetermined. And your own conscious engagement with what shows up for you in your life is what matters. So, yeah, how these things look together or in coaching sessions. The craniosacral piece, I think, is more of just a standalone. I view craniosacral as nonverbal coaching. That's how
Mm.
I see it. For example, I've been working with somebody for the last several months, and every once in a while, we would just be like, maybe it's time for just a craniosacral session, really get your body, support your body in a way, and really just support more of the nonverbal processing, or let your body integrate some of these things, or just see what shows up when we take time to incorporate this into the work. And that can be really powerful. I have another session coming up this weekend where the person had said, "Oh, you also practice craniosacral. I'd really love to experience it. I've never had that before. So we'll do like maybe 30 minutes of hands-on work and then do a coaching session afterwards." And I do think that craniosacral definitely informs my strictly coaching sessions, because I do bring in a lot of questions around what's coming up in your body right now. Are you aware that you have a body right now? What's happening for you? I remember in my practicum with the U 6 or 7 years ago now, I think. One of the most profound sessions I had was with someone who had just had reconstructive foot surgery on both feet. And I just asked the question of, what sensations are in your feet right now? What's happening with your feet? And this person had said some words, and that led to some really deep insights around how they were feeling in general in their life. The somatic piece is a huge part of just how I operate as a coach, really supporting people and integrating that body-mind connection, getting really familiar with where emotions live in the body or how they move through the body, and how that can be a huge part of behavior change, habit change, all of this. And then the astrology piece, it's really interesting because some people will just book an astrology reading, and that might lead to then, okay, let's work together for 3 to 6 months on this thing that came up from your astrology reading, which is really cool. And then other times I've had people book coaching sessions where they're like, yeah, and I also know that you do astrology, so I'd really love to have my chart integrated into this so we can look at that. And I guess the way that something I would compare it to, for those that know like the Enneagram, or really any other kind of like personality test or strengths finders or things like that, it can be utilized just like that, where you bring this chart into the session and talk about it, what comes up for the person, and what kinds of themes are emerging, and what do they want to focus on based on that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a nice little launching pad to start talking about things that maybe if you just start a session and you're like, what do you want to focus on? It's hard to maybe come up with something. But if you have this chart, you have this personality test, you have this, then you can start making observations about those findings. That just is the opening of the door to all the other stories that are stored away.
Yeah. And it leads to some really profound questions. Questions are one of our incredible resources and tools as coaches. And being able to interpret a chart and ask a question, like, it really does land pretty potently, I think, with clients when you have the right kind of questions.
Well Connected exists to help you discover the practitioner that aligns with your values. We believe that finding the right fit should be simple and maybe even fun. When you visit wellconnectedtwincities.com, you can search for local practitioners by categories like chiropractic or herbalism, or you can search by condition or symptom in the directory to find practitioners of various healing modalities who can help. Discover over 100 local practitioners, browse articles, take classes, and listen to interviews by these very practitioners to learn who is the right fit for you. No matter what it is, we are here to help you say yes to the next stop on your healing journey. I wonder if you've noticed any kind of theme or pattern of who's seeking your service and what are people getting out of their interactions with you?
Yeah. Yeah. I've had a really great opportunity to be a part of a community here in Tucson, the Rooted Integrative Wellness Clinic, and they're really well known. And so I have had people just finding me on the website, booking sessions, and I have the questions when they book, like, how'd you find me? What brings you here? So I cannot tell you how amazing it is to have people literally put into words exactly what you want to be helping people with. I would say the last probably 3 out of 4 people that have booked without even knowing me, but just seeing my bio on Rooted's website have said, I want support with being more me.
Mm.
I want to be more authentic. I want to find my voice and just live with more confidence as me. So I think it's people that have, and they say the universe brings you people that are like working on the same things or working, you're just one step further in the process of maybe where they're at, but in more kind of a different language, I would say it's people seeking to break free from conditioning, liberating themselves from societal expectations, from familial expectations. And yeah, people just seeking greater clarity around who they are and what they want. I will also say a common characteristic with people that I've been working with lately is they're pretty self-aware. Self-aware, I would call them empathic. I don't know if they would. I think maybe a couple of them have used that language where they're highly sensitive to the needs of other people. They can sense different emotions and just feel a lot of responsibility for other people's stuff in their lives. That's a common thing that's going on right now. Yeah, I think people really seeking deeper connection and an integration of their whole body, mind, emotions, and spirit, and trying to find balance with feeling everything in the world
Yeah.
and trying to like prioritize their own well-being and mental sanity, emotional sanity, whatever it might be.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
feels really full circle talking about your own goals and intentions personally, and then the kinds of people who are coming to you and what they're also looking for. I think it just goes to show we're all working on similar stuff
Mhm.
together. And it's just so much nicer to have that support and to know that you're not alone, to know
Mhm.
that you're walking alongside a coach who maybe is just like a few steps ahead of you. Right. I think those are the best coaches and the best teachers are the people who can really resonate with, wow, I was literally just there like a year ago, 2 years ago, and I like, let me show you how I got to this point.
Yeah. And even too, Cynthia, I think the kinds of teachers and coaches and support systems I want are the people that sure have done their process, have done their work, but never assume that it's going to look the same for me or that
Mm,
what worked for them will work for me. It's still like that resonance is important and valuable, and being relatable, of course, is super helpful, but still maintaining but I have no idea what's right for you. You do, and I want to hear about it. Tell me what this would look like for you. How can I
yeah.
support you in getting there? Because, yeah, I
Hmm.
think that's a big thing too. And having all this time to myself the last few years. And I will say I have I have friends. I'm not alone for 4 years, but I will say that it is a game changer when you can shift from that dependence on external stimuli or external guidance, and you can really find that guiding post within yourself and remain anchored to that and have the people in your life that can mirror that back to you and help you to really stay true to that,
Mm,
because that's the coach that I want to be and aim to be. And that's where I really love astrology as a way to help keep me in check and also to help provide another tool and resource that people can use in their own day-to-day lives to track their own self. Because intuition, I think, is something that really grows. The more you get connected with things like astrology, you just become more attuned to your own conscious engagement with what the world is bringing to you, to us. Yeah.
mm. Conscious engagement with what the world is bringing to you. Ooh, I really like that. Maybe that's like the title of our podcast episode. I'm like, oh, I like that.
Sounds good to me. Yeah.
Emma, if someone's out there and they are resonating and they are like, yes, I want to feel that, I crave that, I want to hear my intuition, follow my authentic voice, and they want to work with you, how do they get started? Where do they learn more?
Yeah, yes, and that's the beauty of the internet, right? Like I'm here physically in Tucson, Arizona, but I work with people all over the country, really. I haven't gone international yet. Who knows, maybe someday. But yeah, my website is the best place to find everything you'd need. There's a schedule with me button. My email address and contact form is there. Reach out with questions. If you're feeling like it's a yes right away, go ahead and schedule. I'd love to work with you if you're listening to this right now and feeling the call. And I do have a code that will be in the show notes, I believe, for
Mhm.
anybody that does want to work with me, just as a thank you to you, Cynthia, and the Well Connected community and everybody listening.
So, yes, go to the show notes. There'll be Emma's website, the special code. It's well connected when you want to book a evolutionary astrology reading, 20% off, and then also well connected TC for 10% off a coaching package. And all of these are available through the new year. Go snag a package, a reading, and if you want to follow Emma on any social media pages, that all will be linked as well. Uh, and gosh, I feel like we've covered so much, and I wonder, out of everything we've talked about, if there was one takeaway listeners walked away from this conversation with, what would you hope it would be?
Ooh, that's really tough. I think what I would want the takeaway to be from all of this is that you're not alone, that times are wild and hard, and you don't have to navigate it alone. There are cosmic forces at play that can be very supportive and insightful and can help keep us aligned with what is ours to do. And if you're not interested in the cosmic forces, it's trust your own internal wisdom and guidance. It's there. And sometimes it just takes some support to quiet the noise of everything else, the external noise. And it's possible. And it would be my absolute honor and privilege to support anyone who's called in the process.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for your time today, Emma, and for sharing some of that vitamin D through the screen.
You bet.
Oh, so grateful for you and all the work that you're doing.
Likewise, Cynthia, thank you so much for your time and thank you for this opportunity to connect with your incredible community of people listening. So thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to the Well Connected Twin Cities podcast. Did you learn something new? Did you feel that spark of hope and excitement for what is possible? Because so much is possible. Tell us about it in a review on Apple Podcast. Not only would we absolutely love hearing from you, but these reviews help our ratings and help other curious minds like you find this resource. We are always better together. Thank you again, and see you next time.